Hey guys, King of Charmander here. Today I'll be your judge, your jury, and your analyst. And today I bring to you a team with the Skarmory Quagsire core. So this is very similar to the Swampert core in Open Great League. For Johto, we're just using Quagsire and instead of Swampert. Now this does have a little drop off in effectiveness just because of the fact that Quagsire doesn't have Hydro Cannon. However, it does have a pretty versatile moveset. I'm using the standard Stone Edge and Earthquake just because, like, if you get a Jump Bluff, you can hit it with Stone Edge. And with Mud Shot, of course, it charges incredibly fast. 9 energy per 2 shots. Well, 2 turn for 9 energy. So it's one of the fastest charging moves in the game. And there's actually a lot you can do. So I thought about, like, it has Acid Spray. It also has Sludge Wave. So you can kind of disrespect your opponent in a way. The only thing, and you can create like farm down plays, etc. So you can be a little mean with Quagsire. Earthquake is of course there for the steel types, and so you can hit basically anything that Skarmory is weak to. And we got Qwilfish as our safe switch. Qwilfish, this is an ABB team, and Qwilfish will be our safe switch. Qwilfish is incredibly powerful, even though it's like not the bulkiest thing on Earth. Because if you get hit by a Frenzy Plant, because it's poison water, it'll do neutral damage, but it gets hit by... It charges fast, and it's really great on pressure, but it gets hit like a truck, so be very careful with your Qwilfish, because it's not the bulkiest thing in the world, but it charges fast and does a lot of damage. It'll break shields for us, and hopefully win back switch for us, so that we are able to just realign with Skarmory and Quagsire, or better yet, you can lock in Skarmory with the grass type in the back. Skarmory will pretty much wall both Jump Bluff and Meganium for the most part, unless it has a lot of chip damage. In that case, Jump Bluff and Meganium can just chip away at your HP. So, very powerful core, again, very much like Open Great League, and I really like it a lot. So, for my mental health tip for the day, because we are talking about the Johto Cup, you know, it's almost the end of Go Battle League. They did make it to where you can battle 100 battles, believe starting on the 28th. So you can kind of binge through if you aren't legend yet. But my mental health tip for the day. So this is from Emily Bolthius. She is a licensed social worker and has a master's of social work. Well, on a nutshell, here's a little bit of education about being like a clinician, or if you want to be a psychotherapist. So there's generally like 4 paths you can take, and social workers generally help more with children or advocate for services for others. So that's why you got social workers, and then you have marriage family therapists / professional clinical counselors, which is what I'm doing. I'm doing dual licensure, so I'm trying to do both just because licensed marriage family therapists are regulated by state, while professional clinical counselors, you can take it anywhere. So if I move out of California for whatever reason, I can practice psychotherapy using my professional clinical counselor license, and both of them allow you to specialize in 2 different things. So each little place or each little license has their own specialty. Little fun fact about being a psychotherapist, or the education to get there. It's hard. It is really freaking hard, but it's realistic. And speaking of my mental health tip of the day, make sure your expectations are realistic. So, Emily says, if you're expecting too much from yourself or others, then see how those expectations are making you feel. Are they helpful or hurtful? So for those of you that are trying to go after Legend and you haven't played PvP that much, or you don't really have the reps or anything like that, don't really expect yourself to make Legend. At the same time, a lot of you do this thing where you're like, my goal is veteran or expert. That is probably the most sacrificial lamb as far as like trying to make Legend. I'll do a tips on getting Legend, but generally you want to go for Legend. The reason being is because if your mind is set on expert or veteran, you're going to stop performing and be like, you know, I don't have to try as hard and everything like that. I don't have to work as hard. Or, you know what, this is my goal. So, going slowly, people have made it in Season 1 and the preseason. So, you want to go after Legend. If you are now's your chance. Especially if you want to compete in Worlds, like, and the regionals, this is your chance. you can realistically make Legend. A lot of people have made Legend going into PvP early. You put the time in, you learn, you put in the reps, you do the live practice, which I wish we had practice mode already because it would be so valuable for Pokemon Go PvP. And for some reason, despite it, we are the only ELO game that doesn't have an unranked mode yet. So, yeah. But all of you, if you make veteran and expert, you can easily make Legend. My wrestling kid that I literally gave a bazillion Stardust to, he's good enough to make Legend. He just has to put the reps in, and I know he can make Legend. So I've scrimmed with him, and I have full belief that as my varsity wrestling kid can make Legend. And it's very realistic at this time. Even if you started Go Battle League now, up until then, if you did all your battles, you can definitely make Legend. So, me, I don't make it like 300 battles or anything like that because, you know, I like having fun in between and I just really don't care. There's still the luck factor for Blind 3. So, again, good luck on your Legend runs. Realistically, if you start now and you battled and you have Pokemon, you can make Legend. Anyways, let's get started. Alright, here are the battles. So, the Quagire is actually pretty freaking awesome. So for the best battle, we get Paltry. I don't even know what the heck. I don't know how to spell that name, bro. But we get a winning lead. We got Ariados and Skarmory. Thankfully, we wall everything this thing has to offer. Here's the problem, though. If they throw Skarmory into you, usually I'll do this. I'll hit the burb, and then I send in Quagsire. That's what I usually did in practice, and I was like, okay. Or what you can do is you just send in Qwilfish, because Qwilfish has a really good matchup against Skarmory, and I actually sent Qwilfish in here after I do Brave Bird chip damage. I'll shield this one because I expect a Brave Bird anyways, and all I'm going to do is I'll fire this, and this shouldn't actually KO. So one Aqua Tail, even when debuff, shouldn't KO this Skarmory, but they elect a shield anyways, and my brain, I'm kind of scratching my head. I'm like, why? Why would you shield? So I get a little bit more energy, and then my brain's like, yeah, I'm very confused because like this won't kill. So yeah, like with the like little bit of chip before, like that shouldn't have killed unless your IVs are just that terrible. But anyways, as you see here, we get Quagsire into our Qwilfish, which is really odd because I'm like, okay, so you expended a shield for no reason, or you just didn't want me to farm you. Either way, all we're gonna do is Aqua Tail this thing to oblivion. So Quagsire, Lord Quagsire, is actually going to go down. The King of Kings, you know, I watched, you know, for those of you that watched Elimination Chamber, it was so disappointing. It really was. It wasn't as great as I thought. My opponent elects to catch Ariados with a Stone Edge. I'm like, you know this does super effective damage, right? Stone Edge goes through. I'm going to send in Skarmory, but when I do this, they just quit out because it's pretty much GG's. After I take out the Ariados, they just top left because there's really nothing my opponent can really do. Again, really odd. You can do either one, but I like doing that one where I'll Brave Bird and I'll switch into Qwilfish actually instead of Quagsire just because you get that pressure. Got Legend on Legend action, and we get Skarmory into Quagsire. So this actually isn't a bad lead for our opponent. Like, you technically win this one, but still, even then, just because Quagsire gets these moves so fast, and it's actually decently bulky in this lead, Stone Edge is able to hit you with a decent chunk of damage. So as you see here, the Stone Edge is going to come through, the Earth is going to come from the floor, and as you see there, because I don't have my rank 2, I took a lot of damage. I'm like, dang, bro. I'm like, wait a minute. I'm actually not using my rank 2. I'm using a really crappy Skarmory. This Skarmory is 820, I don't know, it's already 800 plus. So I have to shield, I'm going to shield this Stone Edge right here because this will definitely take me out. So I'm like, okay, this is terrible. So I'm going to just farm down this Quagsire, and then I have a bazillion energy left over. Here's the problem though. As you see, that's a Steelix. So what I should have done here was actually like just keep the Brave Bird and swap out. I hit the burp to do chip, and I'm going to send in my Quagsire. Quagsire's job here is just to break shields. I could have sent in Qwilfish. However, I believe the closer I have is a lot stronger if I have Qwilfish in the back rather than Quagsire. And Quagsire is decently bulky enough to take all these Aqua Tails and it takes some crunch damage. Because remember, Qwilfish is not that bulky. It's very, very squishy. So I'm hoping my opponent doesn't really know that I don't have an Earthquake. Because as you see here, I'm measuring down damage. And I'm like, there's no way in heck I'm going to make it to an Earthquake. So I'm hoping that I'm able to jip the system so that I'm able to get a Stone Edge off. So as you see, Stone Edge does go off. I hopefully break a shield here. And if I do, I should be able to send in Qwilfish. And Qwilfish can Aqua Tail down for the dub. So we lose our Quagsire. However, we still have a shield and we send in Qwilfish. Qwilfish is able to get to its move so quickly thanks to Poison Sting and Aqua Tail only being 35 energy. This should KO just because it's super effective. Steelix is ground typing, so Aqua Tail goes through, super effective damage, and our opponent just quits out because Ariados comes through, and that's GG's. All that would have happened is that my Skarmory would just burb to Ariados to death, and that's, well, not burbed, I could just Sky Attack, but either way, it worked out. And as you see, yeah, it was a very interesting matchup. Like, Lord Quagsire isn't that bad of a matchup against Skarmory just because it charges so fast. So I'm like, and it's decently bulky. Sushi rocks. I agree. I love food. Sushi is amazing. I love freaking dragon rolls. Dragon rolls or deep fried sushi rolls are like some of my favorite, just in case y'all know. We get a Granbull into our Skarmory. So we win this lead pretty hard, and then we get a Sudowoodo. And my brain is like, why the heck did I switch into Quagsire? For those of you, do not make the same mistake I did. Switching your Qwilfish. Seriously, switching your Qwilfish. Yes, it does resist, but Aqua Tail does so much damage. As you see here, I eat an Earthquake too. So I even call everything wrong, and I'm like, oh, crap. So I'm going to fire off my own Earthquake, and King of Charmanders is in a lot of freaking trouble. I'm in a lot of danger right now. Even though I do have shield advantage, I won't be able to get to another Stone Edge. And that Sudowoodo has a bazillion energy. So I'm like, okay, I kind of really royally jacked up my win condition here. Or may have not. I have shield advantage, which is good. I'm going to get a little more energy. Because they Earthquake here, they blew all of it anyway. So as you see, I'm going to get a little more. I get 1 over and I'm going to fire off an Aqua Tail. I should have got a little more energy. Just to get a little more for my Aqua Tail. As this will take out Sudowoodo. And we get that Granbull. Again, I definitely should have got a little more energy. As you see here, Shadow Charm does a decent chunk, even though it's resisted by my Qwilfish, just because Poison resists Fairy, but it's also very squishy. So as you see here, they don't elect a shield, and I should be able to farm this thing out because they didn't do so. And then we get a Heracross, which I'm like scratching my head. I'm like, why wouldn't you just shield it, charm me down? But it makes sense anyways, because Heracross doesn't have a great matchup against Skarmory. Skarmory should just be able to Air Slash down just because Skarmory, flying type, is double super effective against Heracross. And Heracross isn't super bulky. As you see here, all we're going to do is send in Skarmory. Skarmory's going to Sky Attack, and that's GG's. Again, kind of a funky move on my part. I should have sent in Qwilfish against that Sudowoodo, but I didn't. But either way, it would have worked out. So that's GG's. Skarmory is very strong, but you can tell I kind of scratched my head. I'm like, what do I do in certain scenarios? So hopefully this gives you a little good, if you're using the Skarmory core, hopefully this gives you a little good idea of what to do. Infamous WK for our next battle, and we could Quagsire onto Skarmory. Like I said before, this isn't necessarily a bad lead for our opponent just because a Sky Attack takes forever to get to. So, you know, 3-turn moves. So as you see here, they will get to a Stone Edge first. And Stone Edge does big damage against Skarmory. As you see here, Stone Edge goes through, and then we almost go into half, and I'm like, oh crap. They send in their own Skarmory, and I elect to send in Quagsire. So, in this sense, you should probably send in Qwilfish, but again, I like sending Qwilfish in, leaving it in the back, just because it has better sweep potential. As you see here, we're going to try to time everything correctly, just so our opponent doesn't get any extra air slashes through. So as you see here, we're going to fire the Stone Edge. Stone Edge does go through, and we should be able to get to a second Stone Edge. And again, I'm just timing everything correctly, just so I don't get any extra, they don't get any extra air slashes through, and we're timing everything perfectly. Hopefully we grab a shield here, and we don't. And I'm like scratching my head, I'm like, why, sir? So, they're going to Sky Attack me down. That's perfectly fine. That's all right. Sky Attack will go through. I'll let it go, and then I plan on farming down this entire Skarmory and having a bazillion energy left for mine. So now I have a ton of energy left. So, what do we got in the back? I'm like, all right, so we got a Quagsire, we got Quagsire, we got Quag, we got Skarm. What's in the back? As you see, everyone loves the Quag Skarm core because it really is that freaking good. But with all this energy I have banked on my Skarmory, I should be able to just do heavy damage against this Quagsire. As you see, Sky Attack is chunking this freaking, and now we get a knocked out, and my brain is like, is that, wait, Quagsire double flyer? And my brain is like, why? Like, yeah, it's super thick, but like, you know, Knockout was good, but it's not that great. As you see here, I should be able to win this by the sheer virtue that, remember how I like saying Aqua, like I like having Qwilfish in the back because it's better, in my opinion, just because of its coverage, and the fact that Aqua Tail spams so much. Don't mind me missing 2 bubbles there, by the way. As you see, Aqua Tail is going to go off, and we should be able to take both shields. We should be able to take this W pretty comfortably here. As you see, firing up more Aqua Tail, just straight up Aqua Tail, should do more damage, should just be able to chip away at this Noctowl, I have to be careful though, because Switch is definitely going to come back up. So I want to be a little careful. I'm like looking at okay, so I'm like, Switch should be up pretty soon. And then, as you see here, they send in Quagsire. I send in my Skarmory just in time as they fire, because I really, really need, like, I needed Scarf to get hit by this thing, to get hit by Stone Edge. We're gonna we're gonna farm it down, and then all we're gonna do is we're double up on Aqua Tail, and this should be GG's. The thing is, knocked out in the red, yeah, it's super bulky. However, Qwilfish, again, in the red, one Aqua Tail should be able to take out this Noctowl, and that's GG's. Really sweaty battle. Like I said, I was like, oh, crap. I'm like, Make sure y'all watch your Switch clocks, and that's GG's. Again, I prefer Qwilfish Mac. You can use Quagsire. It's really up to you. This next battle is actually pretty nuts. It's actually, you'll see what happens. So, yeah, you'll see what happens. It's actually a pretty nutty battle. I'm like, I definitely misplayed here. We get Qwilfish into Skarmory. This is actually a losing lead. Just because, like I mentioned before, Aqua Tail, you get to Aqua Tail so fast. If you looked at my analysis for the 2-shield, for Qwilfish versus Skarmory, Skarmory loses this just because Aqua Tail chunks so much damage. As you see here, Aqua Tail is chunking me really, really hard. Usually what I'll do here is I'll double up. I'll try to double up on Sky Attack. Just because I already know I'm going to lose I already know I'm going to lose this lead. So, double on Sky Attack. Hopefully I can drop both shields. I try to time everything correctly, but unfortunately I'm unable to stop that Poison Sting that comes through. I should be able to get to another Sky Attack though, and then I'm just going to let this go. So, this should put me in the red, but I should be able to have enough HP left to get to that second Sky Attack, and I'll have 2 shields up to their 1. And then the idea here is to send in Qwilfish or Quag so that I can get energy. They let Qwilfish go, and I'm like, oh, that's not good. And we get a Quagsire, and I'm like, oh, no, that's not good. Because all that extra energy actually matters a lot. Yes, I have shield advantage, but having a Quag full of energy isn't the best thing. You don't want that. As you see here, this is probably an Earthquake, so I'm going to shield. The Earthquake is the play. I'm going to go straight Earthquake as well. There's no point in baiting here. I have shield advantage, and I could possibly set something up. So Earthquake is going to go through. This should do big damage. If they don't shield, and it does it, they don't shield. So I'm like, all right, cool. I'm vibing. So as you see here, we should eat. I'm going to shield this one because it's probably going to be another Earthquake. And it is. So we got Qwilfish, and we got Quag, and we get a Skarmory, and I'm like, oh no. So, what I should have done here, you'll see what happens. Stone Edge does go through. We pop the last shield. I'm going to fire one more Stone Edge, and their opponent, and then we're just going to let Quag go, or it's going to take big damage. So, here's what I should have done. So, Sky Attack goes through, and then I'm going to fire Stone Edge. Stone Edge is going to, yeah, you're going to see what happens. I'm like scratching my head. Why the hell did I do this? I send in Stone Edge, and then I send in my Qwilfish. Qwilfish should be, this actually isn't gonna kill, but I do something really dumb. So here's the thing. So Aqua Tail does go through, and then 1, 2, they will get to a move, and this might be a Sky Attack. Here's the issue though. So Quag blew all of its energy, right? So there's a Sky Attack, and then I don't actually fire, which is a mistake. I should have fired, because here's what happens. If I fire, I should be able to do enough chip on Quagsire, and I should have won that match. Instead, it's a simultaneous KO. Like I mentioned, I should have fired Aqua Tail. That's my bad. Otherwise, I would have won. But GG's. I'll take the tie. And that's GG's. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. I'm going to keep it short for the end because y'all just saw a bunch of those battles. But hopefully, this gives you a good idea of what you would like to run for the Johto Cup. Again, very fun, very versatile cup, and because a lot of these Pokemon you likely already have a lot of these Pokemon because a lot of Johto Pokemon are meta in Great League, so you probably have a lot of these built, and hopefully you have them all prepared, or you have them in storage ready to get powered up. If you would do me a huge favor, if this video really helped you out, you see these two little Charmazes right here, could you hit the like and subscribe button? It's totally free, and it really, really helps out the channel. No, seriously, it's like, it really does, and I really appreciate you. And every time I will say this, I really appreciate my current subscribers. Good luck on your Go Battle League sets, and I will see you guys on the next video.